For a number of years, Loretta Devine was one of the few Hollywood veterans who maintained her silence, despite the fact that the rumors were increasingly loud. Nevertheless, she is finally speaking the truth after being silent for several decades. The surprising words that she said, "They are pointing in the direction of Tyler Perry." Her criticism is directed not just at him as a filmmaker, but also at him as the true puppet master who is responsible for the most poisonous secrets in the industry. Her revelations, which she made in a low-key and unedited interview, are shaking Black Hollywood to its very foundations. Also, you won't believe who remained silent and did nothing about it. You are familiar with her from her roles in cherished classics, heartfelt dramas, and renowned stage productions. Known for her grace, candor, and unwavering dedication to the profession, Loretta Devine is a name that practically everyone knows. What happens, however, when someone who has nothing left to prove ultimately makes the decision to go public with their silence? Imagine for a moment that the individual she is revealing is none other than Tyler Perry. Indeed, the multimillionaire business magnate Tyler Perry, who is also the creator of Medea, is one of the most powerful powers in the entertainment industry for Black people. Loretta claims that there is a man who has used his influence to quiet, stifle, and sabotage even those who are closest to him. This man is said to be hiding behind the scenes. This past week, Loretta made a low-key visit and had a private meeting with industry insiders. During this time, she revealed some shocking information that the mainstream media has not yet covered. For the sake of headlines, she did not name drop. She spoke with feeling, with pain, with the calm frustration of someone who has been observing for years. She voiced her thoughts with emotion. And at long last, I had enough. This video will dissect every aspect of what she claimed, including the manipulation that took place behind the scenes, the parts that were taken without permission, the emotional toll, and the surprising reality about why some of the most influential women in the industry have distanced themselves from Tyler Perry over the course of the past few years. Instead of gossip, we are discussing facts, stories that have been leaked, and first-hand accounts. Following that, you won't believe what took place. And by the time you reach the conclusion of this film, one thing will be completely understandable. Although Loretta Devine has been silent for several decades, Hollywood had better start paying attention to what she has to say now that she is speaking. In the days before the media headlines, before the streaming empires, and before the box office success that brought in $1 billion, Tyler Perry was just another playwright who was fighting for his right to be taken seriously. And at that time, Loretta Devine was already a legend in motion, having won Tony Awards, having film credits, and having an obvious influence in the world of Black theatre. Despite the fact that many people recall Perry's dramatic entry into mainstream society with his Medea plays and Diary of a Mad Black Woman, the majority of people are unaware of the fact that he drew significant inspiration from singers such as Loretta. According to those who worked behind the scenes during the late 1990s and early 2000s, Tyler had his sights set on Devine, not for a role, but rather as a symbol. To put it another way, Loretta exemplified the kind of artist who might provide credibility to Tyler's earlier performances. In addition to her talent, she possessed the credibility and the heart of the audience who attended Black theatre. It would have been a power play for Loretta to collaborate with her, but according to others with knowledge of the situation, she was apprehensive. There was no doubt in her mind about Perry's capabilities. Rather, she questioned his reasons for doing what he did. She was disturbed about the way Perry portrayed Black women in his early plays, according to sources close to Loretta, who provided this information. As a means of providing entertainment, the characters were frequently exaggerated, caricatured, and highly reliant on traumatic experiences. In spite of the fact that she had based her career on portraying dignified, multifaceted, and multi-layered characters, Loretta had the impression that something was off. According to a source, she did not want to be simply another loud Black mother who yelled in a wig for the sake of getting laughs. Storytelling was something that she held in high regard, and she was not willing to compromise on that, even if it meant declining an offer from a rising talent like Tyler Perry. The fascinating part comes at this point, however. According to the allegations, Tyler began covertly blacklisting Loretta from future possibilities. not in the sense of putting her name on a list, rather than respecting her decision and giving her space. However, in the most perilous exchanges that take place between producers in hushed language, that kind of thing that concludes with, perhaps another person would be a better fit for this endeavor. It has been suggested by a number of casting directors that Perry's projects purposefully avoided working with established performers who posed a challenge to his creative direction. To add insult to injury, Loretta ended up becoming one of them. On the other hand, that was only the beginning because, behind the scenes, a war was developing in the back. And the next time their names were brought up in the same circle, it was not because of a chance that had failed to materialize. It had to do with a power play that would stun Loretta and demonstrate how much deeper Tyler's grip had grown in the sector. The shocking aspect, however, is something that they do not want you to know. It wasn't only that Tyler was trying to avoid Loretta. It has been stated that he took her place in a significant role without even informing her. When it comes to Hollywood, the most significant controversies are not always about what they say out loud, but rather about what they do behind the scenes. Sincerity, grace, and talent have been the foundations upon which Loretta Devine has built her legacy. For the sake of attention, she has never been required to pursue parts or stir up trouble. However, even the most revered veterans have secrets that they have decided to keep buried until the time comes for the truth to be revealed. And for Loretta, that moment eventually arrived after she had been secretly pushed out of a project that she had been promised for several years. There was a television project that was in the early stages of development around the year 2015, and it had all the elements necessary to become a tremendous success, as stated by reliable sources from inside Tyler Perry Studios. A powerful and complicated matriarch was the protagonist of the script, and she was tasked with managing life, family secrets, and community leadership role. According to the allegations, Tyler had approached Loretta at an early stage and informed her that the character had been written for her in mind. As a result, she felt a sense of awe and excitement. However, when the show started to take shape, there was a change that occurred. The news that the lead role would be given to another actress came as a complete surprise to executives working at O1, the Oprah Winfrey Network, where Perry had a significant amount of creative power. Someone with less experience, greater adaptability, and someone who would not challenge the direction that the script is going in. It was as if Loretta's name vanished without a trace from the conversations on the inside. No one called, and there were no explanations given. A different path was taken by us. There is only quiet. Off the record, a long-time casting director who is familiar with the incident disclosed to industry bloggers that Loretta was left out of the picture. It is not true that Tyler ever formally rejected her. He simply rewrote the position and then handed it over to another individual, as somebody who would not resist the exercise of creative control. She was in utter disbelief. On the other hand, this is where it hurts much more. That program went on to become one of Tyler Perry's most successful broadcast dramas, earning traction, buzz from accolades, and being renewed for multiple seasons. Nevertheless, what is the function of the powerful black matriarch? It could not be denied that Loretta's voice was used in the writing. Those who were familiar with the early scripts were able to tell, and for a number of years Loretta remained silent. In order to maintain her professionalism, her dignity, and as she subsequently implied, her fear, she chose to remain silent. As a result of the fact that publicly criticizing someone like Tyler Perry is not just perilous in this field, you could lose everything if you do it. But why is she speaking at this moment? Because quiet is only effective when it appears like justice is possible. And after years of witnessing younger actors being molded and dominated by an image that Tyler advocated, while veterans like her were gently pushed aside, Loretta was finally unable to maintain her silence any longer. During a recent private panel that was hosted by a guild of experienced black actors, Loretta allegedly broke down in tears as she discussed what she referred to as the invisible barrier that lies between power and truth in the entertainment industry. She almost corroborated the narrative by adding that often the most dangerous men in the profession are the ones who built their kingdom on the backs of women like us and then closed the gates. She did not identify any specific names, but she did confirm the story. Her words was unfiltered. The director, and at long last, they gave air to what a great many of people in the Black Hollywood community have been muttering for years. But if you thought that was the worst of it, you should wait until you hear how another A-list actress warned Loretta that she too had been used and dumped by Tyler Perry. She added that she had been similarly treated by Tyler Perry, and I assure you that you will be familiar with her name. There are untold stories of women who were left behind or, even worse, actively forced out of every Hollywood dynasty. These tragedies lie behind every Hollywood empire. In addition, in the carefully managed realm that Tyler Perry has created, that story is not only Loretta Devine's only one. It's a moniker that has been mentioned by a number of the most well-known figures in the black entertainment industry. Even if Loretta remained silent for a number of years, there were other people who were not scared to speak their minds behind closed doors. Women who had experienced similar betrayals from their own lives, who recognized the pattern, and who attempted to speak up in their own unique way. In addition, when they reached out to Loretta, it was not merely a gesture of sisterhood, rather, it was a warning. To put it simply, Cicely Tyson is one of the most influential voices in that group. Indeed, the late one. In addition to being a woman who had collaborated with Tyler Perry, the great Cicely Tyson was also a legend and an icon. In point of fact, many people would recall Perry's public affection for Cicely, which included casting her in his films and referring to her as a mother figure. Few people are aware of what Cicely confided in Loretta in private. Apparently, Cicely once cautioned Loretta that just because they put your name in lights does not guarantee that they see your worth. This information comes from a close acquaintance of both of them. Be wary of males who establish empires on the backs of women who have been broken. Allegedly, Cicely witnessed Tyler's method of operation, applauding older black women in public, but rarely providing them roles that are consistent, powerful, and that show their real range of abilities. Instead, he frequently relied on emotional manipulation, employing emotions with the intention of controlling rather than elevating others. In addition, Cicely was not the only actress who had privately voiced their dissatisfaction with working in Tyler's creative orbit. Other actresses such as Kimberly Elise, Lynn Whitfield, and even Tasha Smith had also revealed their negative feelings. In spite of the fact that they were cast in important projects, they found that they were consistently classified into characters that were one-dimensional, with limited leeway to mold their personas or question the narrative in any way. During the drama casting fiasco that Loretta was experiencing, it was alleged that she received a private message from one of these actresses. And something that stated, "Sis, I say this with love," was the message. They will act as if you were never present in the room by pretending that you are not going to play along. In addition, it is precisely what took place. But rather than harboring resentment, this sisterhood transformed their suffering into a sense of unity. These women started building a support group in a stealthy manner, apart from the exclusive events that were taking place in Hollywood. The provision of a secure environment in which black actresses may freely express themselves, discuss their experiences, and recover from the emotional and professional harm caused by industry power players, particularly those who were members of their own community. In a confidential interview that is currently being disseminated among those who are privy to the information, Loretta referred to these chats as life-saving, mainly due to the fact that at one point in time, that sisterhood contemplated doing something daring, something more public. They considered the possibility of submitting a letter to the media as a group in which they would call out the manipulation, the emotional gaslighting, and the pattern of subtly replacing strong women with newcomers who were more accommodating. Fear, however, succeeded in the end. The dread of being blackballed, the fear of being sued, and the terror of the very system that they had part in building. Nevertheless, their covert opposition left a paper trail behind one that we are currently unveiling in its entirety. No one anticipated that Tyler Perry would do something after years of being silent, issuing discreet warnings, and maintaining a covert tension. This is what he did. Perry reportedly made what many people in the business are now referring to as a peace offering to Loretta Devine, as stated by various interior industry sources. However, this was not merely a call to get back in touch. It was a deliberate maneuver, an attempt to manage the narrative strategically before it spiraled out of his hands and became uncontrollable. What is the offer? The opportunity to play a supporting role in one of his upcoming film projects, which is scheduled to make its debut on Netflix, along with a public press release that would showcase their reunion and the creative journey they have taken together. Doesn't it have a pleasant sound? But there is a catch to this. Almost exactly the same as the characters that Loretta had rejected many years previously, the role was almost exactly the same. It embodied the archetype of a mother figure who was emotionally broken out. Again, written with very little substance, with the intention of attracting more attention than telling the truth. According to the sources, Loretta did not even flinch when she was presented with the offer. She allegedly informed a buddy that he asked for a photo opportunity. Both a relationship and respect are lacking. This is the final time that my name will be tied to his empire before it falls apart again. It has been reported by those who are close to the matter that Loretta did not just decline the post. In response, she wrote a letter, which was a forceful, professional, and penetrating note that exposed everything in its entirety. Apparently, the letter, which has not been made public, described her dissatisfaction with the way that women who were similar to her had been treated over the course of many years. Her reluctance to be relegated to a supporting role in the redemption story of another individual, and most crucially, her choice to quit pretending that everything was well. One producer who heard the letter called it as the most honest thing anyone has ever spoken to Tyler Perry and the reason why he never gave her another chance. The letter was read under a non-disclosure agreement as well. However, this rejection did not come easily to an end. The media began releasing rosy retrospectives about Tyler Perry's support of black actresses almost immediately after Loretta rejected him. These stories, which conveniently omitted any mention of Loretta Devine, were published almost immediately following the rejection of Loretta by Tyler Perry. Is it a coincidence? In no way. Some people feel that these stories were skillfully planted by Perry's public relations staff in order to cover up any rumors that might have been about the actual conflict. Furthermore, they were successful for a period of time. Nevertheless, social media had already picked up on the smell. The video clips from the previous interviews started making their way around TikTok. In the interviews, Loretta made a cryptic reference to a sibling who did not put his words into action. A number of fans started putting the puzzle together. On Twitter X, hashtags such as #JusticeForLoretta and #SpeakUpSis started trending, and what had been a private fallout in the past had now become a public reckoning. The meticulously crafted image that Tyler had, the kind that had him featured on magazine covers and on lists of billionaires, was absolutely hilarious. To add insult to injury, Loretta wasn't even attempting to bring him down. The only thing she did was say no, but working in a field where women who constructed the stage are supposed to remain silent can make saying no feel like a declaration of war. It took place during a roundtable discussion that was intended to be a private and quiet gathering, and the panel was called Black Women in Entertainment Holding Space Telling Truth. Participants included members of the audience, industry insiders, veteran actresses, and a few journalists of choice. There was no red carpet and there was no fanfare. An invitation had been sent to Loretta Devine to talk about her career that spans several decades, her enthusiasm for mentoring, and the changes that she had witnessed in the profession. She remained her usual dazzling and calm self throughout the majority of the panel, making jokes, imparting knowledge, and illuminating the space with her trademark warmth are all things that she does. Then, however, the question was posed by someone. With a tense grip on a notepad, a young actress in the throng was the one who made the announcement. When she said, "Ms. Devine, I don't want to name names, but how do you handle it when someone you trusted, someone who claims to be building a legacy for us, turns out to be using you?" Her voice cracked as she asked the question. Silence fell throughout the entire room. There was no smile on Loretta's face. She did not avoid the attack. Leaning in toward the microphone, she spoke. He stopped and then replied, "There are times when the devil wears our skin. Ooh, it is as if he walks, talks, and even prays like us. He is just like us. However, you are aware that it is him. It was as if you could have heard a pin drop when he began constructing thrones out of the backs of women. A bomb went off when that quote, which was penetrating, poetic, and obviously straight, was spoken. There was no mention of names, but everyone in that room was aware of the person to whom she was talking. Within 24 hours, her words had created a sensation on social media platforms. A number of fan accounts, industry activists, and even former Tyler Perry colleagues have shared clips on their own platforms. People were using the term "the devil wears our skin" in a variety of contexts, including remarks on TikTok, reactions on YouTube, and even merchandise. In spite of the fact that she had never raised her voice, Loretta had just delivered the most terrible truth. She had always been known for her grace and professionalism. But what was it that made it even more unbearable? There was no response from Tyler Perry. A tweet, a comment, or a statement are all examples of this. What transpired, on the other hand, was a calm mayhem. Sometime behind the scenes, the producers started taking out old contracts. In a discreet manner, actors who had previously defended Perry started to distance themselves from him. A major streaming platform, which had just announced a multi-project contract with his studio, is said to have postponed their debut, claiming creative redirection as the reason. Furthermore, Loretta did not participate in a press tour at any point. The opportunity was not taken advantage of by her. In a straightforward manner, she allowed the truth to remain in the room until it could no longer be avoided. Exactly like that is what true power looks like. Since then, her statement has become ingrained in a growing movement of veteran black women in Hollywood who are demanding respect, ownership, and authenticity, not happy with being honored without having to do anything.